Hi guys, this is a lesson that's bound to disappoint everybody. If you're an accomplished finger picker, this is probably going to go too slowly and you'll be looking at it saying, just get to the point, man. If you're not an accomplished finger picker, then this is going to be probably well outside your wheelhouse right now. As you know, I like to develop things incrementally, give you one skill at a time and then build upon that, saying, now that you know that, let's tweak it and go here. This has several tweaks beyond what I've shown anybody so far. We'll get to it one day, we'll go step by step up toward this, but really it should be beyond you if you're working on Hal Leonard's Entertainer right now. If you want to bootstrap this, it's kind of a cool scaffolding method. If you want to just take this thing and dig in and learn it, then your skill level will go through the roof, but you will have taken a large step and it will take a lot of effort. I did that when I learned it. It's from Jerry Snyder's fingerpicking method book. This book is great for going incrementally up through the steps, and we'll do that one day, going back through simpler songs like Merrily We Roll Along, building up the alternating techniques and everything that we need, culminating finally at this. If you want to just wait for that one day, go ahead, that would be fine. But if you want to dig into this and give it a try, that would be fun too. I learned and memorized this song very early in my playing, and I wasn't really ready for it. I learned a lot of techniques incorrectly. And when I memorized it, of course, I forgot it, tried to dig it back out of my head, rebuilt it wrong, and ended up with an altered version that I would play for a long time. I went back years later and learned it from the book again and found it really hard to read. This is one of the things I point out to you guys. When you're playing by memory, keep an idea of how the song looks, because it's very hard to be working from your memory and glancing at the music, because it does not picture in your head any longer like it does on the music. I relearned it a second time at least, picked it up, put it back together, forgot it again, also learned some of the techniques wrong, and I want to look at it now. I've just memorized it again because, as you know, I am working on trying to memorize more songs, especially so I can tell you what that process is like. That being the case, though, it's actually going to be hard for me to play it from what I've written here or from the book right now, because I'm also operating on a memory level where my brain's trying to access the ideas one way and my eyes are coming at them another. Don't be surprised that this happens to you all the time as you're getting better at a song. You'll practice and practice and practice and suddenly get worse. That's just because you're looking for files from a different direction now, and you have to go back and figure out where they are again. The more we do that, the better we get, and we get more access to more files from different routes. What we start with is the tiny little piano lick going down in octaves. I'm not going to analyze this whole song, especially talking about the syncopation or the chromatics. Those are talked about in the Hal Leonard lesson. Go back and check those out. But this part isn't in it. We're in C, and this is D, E, C, A, B, G. This is probably D7 being outlined here. That would be a root, a 9, and a 7. And the 5. Then that's probably a G chord, G and B. That's now played an octave lower, so that was the 10-12. 10, 12, 8, 5, 7, 8. Now they do it on this D. D, E, C, A, B, G. And then on the lower octave. But there's one chromatic note. We're approaching the G note chromatically from the G sharp or A flat. And then there's a G chord. So we get this. Now, 3 times written, we have this main theme. This is interesting. When you're learning a song, if you're like me, you just start at the beginning and power your way to the end, and it makes very little sense. Some parts will jump out and you go, oh, that's nice, but you won't get the overview and see how the song works. You might hear something in your own playing like... And you would read this again somewhere else in the song. Not know it's really the same thing. And so on. and you end up not really knowing how the song goes until you've gone over it over and over and over again. Even then, what I find is I don't make the connections until I've played for a long time and tried analyzing it. It's kind of a catch-22. Again, it's that kind of inductive versus deductive reasoning. You don't see the big scheme until you've got the details, but the details don't make sense without the big scheme. So one scheme we have here, as we saw in the Hal Leonard, is this main idea. That happens 3 times out of 4 lines in the A section. So we've got a C chord. Now we go on to the F. To show you the way I think about it rather than the way you would read it, I'm going to tell you, do this thing again. Now I'm on a different F, but I'm on F again. You wouldn't know that from playing the song through just linearly bar by bar unless you have an amazing ear and memory. But F is the same again with an adaptation. D7, another G7. I'm doing this again. Actually, I'm doing this entire line again. I didn't know that for a long time, especially because in the book we turn the page right then. So I'm flipping over and seeing something new. But it's the same as the first. And then finally this section is closed. In the book it goes off to a B section. The recorded versions will go back to the beginning, as will Hal Leonard, so we'll probably go back to the beginning here. So that's how it sounds. That's how I would think about it. Try to learn this bar first. Get good at that. That makes sense to a lot of people. They'll actually learn a bar at a time and memorize it. But when we've memorized that, recall that it's going to show up very many times. Another thing to do with them is listen to the melody. You're going to hear that I'm having trouble enunciating a bit of this. With this extra bass note in there, it kind of collapses into the melody note. The melody goes like this throughout. And again, most of this you heard in Hal Leonard, although they do interpret it differently. It repeats with a new F. Back to the full beginning repeating. Then we're on the next. So that's your melody. You should always practice that as a fingerstyle player, picking out your melody separately. We should also check out the bass separately. In our lessons, we've not gotten this far yet to see that we want to play this alternating bass. We have seen something where a C chord may alternate with the G note, the 1 and 5. In this, it's a small stride on a piano. It's root 3, 5, 3. In full stride piano that came later, you would jump from root way up to a chord and back. But we're going to get this. C, E, C, E, C, E, C, E, F, A. Except on C, not only are we alternating the root and the 3, the C and the E, but the second time around we alternate the 5 underneath the G. C, E, G, E. So there's your C bar. That gives us a bass note on this E note right before we get a melody note on the E note. A piano player is not worrying about that. Their hands are separated and their octaves are separate. But we want to play this one with your thumb, the blue note, and the other E with your finger for a melody. When I'm trying to get the feel, sometimes I almost don't play that bass note at all because it gets in the way. I don't want to hear this. I don't want to hear 2 solid E's there. I want to be able to distinguish that melody in there. So I'll try to play the bass note quietly with my thumb and then the melody note a little louder with my finger. When you get to the higher C here, we're accompanying it with the G. So we get D, D sharp or E flat. The melody is the E, bass note C, bass note E, melody note E, high C with a G. Here the bass note E is the melody note. And now we're doing two bass notes on F. The 3 and the 2, the F and the A. On the C chord next, the 3, the C is a bass, and so is that open G. And you should play that with your thumb. When I learned this at first, I didn't. I played those two notes, because they're second and third strings, with my M and I fingers, as I had learned from my finger picking. You can do it, but one thing it does is it detracts from the rhythm you're getting with that steady bass. It throws off the rhythm a little bit, where you're pausing and coming out of the alternation. And although it's subtle, you actually won't hear that open G the same way with your finger on it as you will when you get there with your thumb playing an oompa bass. So up to there it goes like this. C, alternate bass, F, C, C, G7, C. When I'm playing one of these songs early, I can't hear that happening at all. But once in a while, after I've played it several dozens or hundreds of times, I'll start to hear the independence of those lines. This is kind of funny. You can actually hear how unsure I am playing it right now, because I have so much in my memory and so little experience with the way this board looks. I'm actually trying to translate and decipher that right now as I go. Notice on this C chord, we want to do the C bass melody, the C note with a middle finger. This D note pinched the open G. We've put G's in the lower octave before, but now we can actually alternate that G onto the higher string as well. There it is. I'm pinching, so I'm getting melody with my finger, G bass with my thumb. Here they are again in the next bar. The G should be played with a middle finger at the G7. So you can play this classical version of G7 on top of it. I rarely remember to get that, so I end up jumping. So here's line 1. There, I forgot. When I'm playing that well, my right hand is jumping to catch those higher notes. Here's the next page. First again. Last. Here, let's run through this. We'll hit a C chord, C bass, and a high open E. Change your bass note to the B flat. You'll hold that with your pointer. Middle finger catches the C on the first fret of the second string. Opens. Middle finger on the 4, pinky on the 5. There are those D and F notes again for the G7, so I should have had the other finger down there. C. If I'm going again, I'll hit a G note and start again. One more thing I'll point out here is this D7 chord. If you think of a D7 and put an F sharp in the bass, let go of the top note, leave your 1 and 2 and put an F sharp there with a 4. That would be thumb, finger. The 1 and 2, the C and A, are thumb and finger, because the A is a bass note. Remove the pinky and grab the high D note. And again, you see the 1 and 2 being a thumb and a finger for the bass note. And then on the G7 chord, we're climbing up thirds. As we start again. There, if you caught it, I got the right fingering on that G at least. So we're going to do part 2 later on, but that will be your work for part 1. Try to think of your alternate bass. C chord, F, C, C, G7, repeat, F, with the bass descending here. And think of your melody separately, and then put them together. I haven't got the right hand motion going right now. I'm not falling into the feel that I want. Hopefully I'll get that when I show you part 2. Talk to you guys later. Bye.